My name is Lisa Power, and I'm the Director of Enrollment Management here at Landmark School. And I'm joined by my colleague Amanda Ryan, who works at the school and teaches an advocates class. She's actually an alum of the school, so we're just so happy to have her as part of the team. Tonight, I'm going to walk through our typical high school info session presentation. So it's the same presentation that we do at the in-person visits as well. So you're going to get the same type of information regardless. And I had to sneak away to my mom's house, to my childhood home, because I have two young kids. So I thought it would be a little quieter here. So going to just do my best to navigate everything. Later on this evening, we're going to be having some of our current students join us, as well as a parent or two, and then our Dean of Students, our head of the upper school, and then our Dean of Academics as well. So I'm going to run through the presentation, and then at that point, once they join us, we're going to do a little student panel, and you can ask questions. There's a Q&A at the bottom of your screen, so please feel free to start entering questions at any point, but I'm going to wait to answer those questions until after the presentation and those folks get a chance to join us. Okay. And Amanda, thank you for helping with this. And if anyone comes on late, if you wouldn't mind just letting them in. Oh, there's someone else here. All right, great. All right, we're just going to get started. I'm going to just share my screen. All right. So I just want to start off just by kind of like highlighting our students. Our students are really bright, well-adjusted, curious, and eager to learn. They've kind of figured out that where their current school is and their current setting, it's not the right place for them, but they still are, eager to learn and want to find a place that really can teach to their strengths and the way that they learn. Our students are motivated. Like many of your children, I'm sure they are resilient and quite capable, but they might not realize that in their current environment, or maybe they're in a school that is similar to Landmark, but ends in 8th grade, and they're now looking for a high school to kind of continue that education. So I just want to go a little bit over who our students are and kind of what that profile looks like. And so for our students, we do require students to submit a neuropsych test, one that's within 3 years old. And typically what we're seeing as a diagnosis on those neuropsychs, anything from dyslexia to disorder of written language, the expressive language disorder, those executive function deficits, ADHD, and or weak working memory or processing speed. So this is very common of what we're looking for on those neuropsychs. I also did want to be very specific about who Landmark may not be suitable for. We have very specific programming to support those students that I just spoke about and what those diagnoses are. But we're not equipped to work with students with intellectual disabilities, emotional and or behavioral disorders, anyone who's on the autism spectrum disorder or has been diagnosed with a non-verbal learning disability. Okay. Or in addition to those, anyone who has a complex communication disorder, including primary receptive and or social pragmatic language deficits. Like I said, we just do not have the programming around to fully support students, and we're happy to give you some guidance where other options might be for your students, but we are very, very specific about what we can and what we cannot do. And so when we're looking at that neuropsych testing, we really are looking for areas of strength within the 3 realms of verbal comprehension, fluid reasoning, and really strength in the visual spatial integration. And typically what we'll also see is areas of difficulty around that working memory piece and the processing speed. Okay, so really areas of strength in that VCI, fluid reasoning, and visual spatial. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to show videos on this because for some reason, they don't play correctly when we do this, but we do have a number of videos that we will send as a follow-up, so that way you can learn and hear more from students and faculty through those. All right. What's unique about Landmark is we're a language-based school, which means we're skill-based, and we teach that content through skills and direct instruction through all parts of the curriculum. So it's not just part of one class that they have, but across their entire curriculum that they're getting that direct explicit instruction. And we have that daily one-on-one language arts tutorial. So that's something significant to our program and really where we work with students to really work with their gaps in their literacy. It's part of their daily schedule, and in just a few slides, I'm going to be covering what the daily schedule looks like and how many classes that they have in a day. But our language arts tutorials, it's a one-on-one class, and they're 50-minute classes. And no two look alike. So we really are setting goals to remediate the language and literacy skills. And we do use a diagnostic set of goals around word attack, reading fluency, reading comprehension, decoding, encoding, study skills, writing skills, and expressive language skills. So students are getting a really individual program to suit their needs. So we're very, very specific about working with students through this tutorial program. Students get a very specific literacy tutorial if they are still behind in that phonological awareness. And so we utilize such programs as the Linda Mood Bell LIPS program, Seeing Stars, Read Naturally, and it's really multi-sensory and hands-on, and it really works well for our students. So this is really kind of that central point for our landmark students where they're really working on remediating these specific skills. Now, the landmark classroom, because we are part of the Massachusetts framework, we do have half of our students who are funded through their local school system. We also place students according to ability level. So we aren't looking to fill just a 9th grade class or a 10th grade class. What we're doing is we're looking to fill levels of literacy, writing skills, and just really looking to fill those programs. Obviously, we're not going to put a junior or senior with a freshman, but it really is based on skill level. Our average class sizes cannot be no more than 6 to 8 students. And our teachers are currently have their master's or getting their master's degree. And we also have a program for our teachers. If they don't currently have their master's, they can take a class through through a program. We'll pay for their master's. Amanda, remind me what that is through. Is it through the BU program?
Yeah, it's through Boston University Wheelock.
Wheelock. Okay, great. Thank you. So they'll get their master's in mild to moderate special education. And those teachers who are taking that coursework will get an upper level certificate. And they get direct supervision and partnership through that BU Wheelock. So they have an extensive training that they go through to really work with our students and know exactly how to really modify and have a different approach to working with each student. We really are looking to move at the right pace for students with the right amount of challenge. So typical content classes, they'll work on different delivery of instruction for them. So it's really a nice, healthy balance of really creating a classroom space where students are really feeling comfortable, engaging with one another. They're not embarrassed to stop and ask a question of a teacher if they feel like they're not keeping up. So it's really a safe learning environment for students to really use their strengths, but also close their gaps where they have those. So for the core curriculum for students, so there are 7 periods throughout the day. So every student will have a language arts class, a math class, science, social science, and electives. And then we customize that with that one-to-one language arts tutorial. If students need help with expressive language, oral expression, they'll have that course. We can provide some study skills and executive function for students, as well as the reading. And so for our students, they have the same schedule Monday through Friday, which is nice. So it's we really have that consistency within the program. We have essay writing, study skills class for those students that are at a higher level with reading comprehension. We work on fluency skills. word retrieval, and really just helping students with that writing process as well. And our expressive language and oral expression classes, we're really using varied sentence structure in their expression, and really helping them use more sophisticated vocabulary and understanding figurative language and idioms and multiple meanings. So there's a separate program for that, for them to be able to get the help in there. And then, like many students, they do struggle with those executive function skills. So there are specific study skills classes that we can help support them if students need extra help with reading and literature. There's a small group reading class where they can continue to work on their decoding and fluency in addition to that one-on-one tutorial. So with all that said, we really do customize our programming and their class schedules around where the students are. And so part of the admissions process, in addition to that neuropsych I mentioned that we do require within 3 years, we do some screening of our own when students come to campus for their visit. And based on that screening, that's really helping us give certain indications about what we need to customize their program with. And so that way, when we're accepting a student, we really can go into greater detail about specifically what we feel like your child needs. And then we work with the academic office just to have a second set of eyes on that and confirm everything that we thought through that screening process as well. So again, our approach is very, very thorough because we do have specific programs for your children. And like all of us, I feel like these days, especially with life being so hectic, I feel like we could all use some help with time management and making sure that we're getting to classes on time and we're knowing what we're doing after school as well. So again, it's just really, embedding all of these executive function skills across the curriculum. So we're really looking to work with students specifically on these skills right here. Really with the 5-step writing process, from the brainstorm to outlining to the rough draft to edit to a final draft. The language-based program is the best way to really internalize your skills and becoming automatic by implementing these skills. And just being independent with that and consistent with that across the curriculum. So we take the same approach to writing and test taking as well. So again, being in a language-based program, all of this stuff is just weaved through each content area as well. And so whether it's, life after Landmark is a college or university or whatever it might be, we're really trying to prepare them to have those independent skills and most importantly, those self-advocacy skills. Now, as far as homework, I know when I'm interviewing a lot of students, they just say, we're just getting drowned in homework. It's just a lot of worksheets. I don't see the meaning of it, or I just can't keep up, or I had 40 pages of text to read and I had to annotate it, and then all my other homework went wayside. So for us, we really want homework not to be a source of frustration, but really an opportunity to review the work that you learned in class. Homework is a third of a student's grade. And, our students are independent in getting their work done. They'll probably get about 15 to 20 minutes per subject, in 9th and 10th grade. And obviously, as they progress through our high school program, it does increase. But again, we want students to be able to advocate for themselves and make sure that they're asking for an extension if they need that, or if they're not understanding something, they're able to appropriately ask for that help. Another core part of our Landmark fabric is our academic advisor program. I look at the academic advisor as kind of like that project manager. They're the ones really setting up those diagnostic set of goals with the tutorial one-on-one teacher. And they really are responsible for monitoring and regularly observe those tutorials, and then also monitor progress to see how we need to change or shift as students are working towards those goals. And so the academic advisor sees probably about 18 students total on their caseload. And again, they're checking in, observing. They're your point of contact. So instead of trying to reach out to 7 different teachers, including an elective teacher, that academic advisor is there for you to contact if you have any questions. Obviously, we want a healthy balance of the student being able to advocate for themselves and having that independence, but it's also important for parents to be our partners as well and to make sure that they have the information that they need. So again, they oversee a student's academic schedule. They work closely with that tutorial teacher. For those students who are funded through their public schools, they do work to write their IEPs and coordinate all of that as well. Okay, so that again, just kind of looking at that academic advisor um, as that project manager for you all. And the academic advisor stays with that student during their time at Landmark. So it provides that continuity and that consistency and really helping students build the rapport with their go-to adult person on the campus. Okay. And we do have a transition planning office, and they work with students, starting as early as ninth grade, just really doing an interest inventory. We have a number of different colleges and universities that our students get into, and it really depends on what a student might need to continue to have for support as they leave Landmark School. Some students might not need any support moving forward because they've learned those skills that they need to be independent. But we will set up weekly one-on-one meetings with that guidance counselor beginning junior year, and that will continue on. We have a big college fair in March. And so we have a number of different colleges and universities that come to campus, and it's a great opportunity for parents and students to explore different options and speak to admissions representatives to learn more about specific programs. We give that support throughout the entire secondary exploration process, the application process. We all know how fun it is to work on those college essays, and so we really take that on and try to take that stress off of you all as parents and trying to manage that. We do have 100% accepted to college, and 94% go on to university or college. The other 6% might do a gap year. They might pursue a different skill outside of going to a college or university. So whatever the path is that a student is interested in pursuing, we really work with the students and the families to make sure that they have the right choices that they need as they're going through this exploration process. Okay. In our community, we are a school of about 300 students in the high school. And right now we have probably about 60% day and 40% boarding. All students are welcome to come on weekend for weekend activities, but we do want to foster really an environment where we're inclusive, and we have students coming from all over the world. We have students coming from across the US and local students as well. And so we really value having students on campus with different backgrounds and different perspectives, and it really makes teaching students in these classroom environments much more engaging and just really real world experiences. So we really do foster that as part of our community. Now, I did want to talk a little bit about the residential life curriculum. Rob Genitelli is our Dean of Students. He'll be joining us a little bit later on this evening. He's been with the school probably about 30 years now. And Rob was really at the center of creating this residential curriculum with the rest of his residential staff. And it's really based on his years of experience and just, working with students to make sure that they're prepared to handle all of the independence that they're going to have when they attend college and university. And he is in touch with a number of different alumni, and through those conversations of really what helped you as you transition into college and university that you took away from being a residential student at Landmark, or what didn't we provide you that would have been good to have. And so through years of those conversations and working with our different staff, he has developed this residential curriculum. And what it is, it's a level system program, and we're really working with students on these 4 key areas. Really just, again, helping them with their time management skills, organizational skills, self-advocacy, and healthy decision-making. And so we really want students to really figure out how to problem solve effectively. And no matter what they do, these are really great life skills to have once students leave Landmark. For anyone who has about a 45-minute to an hour commute, we really highly recommend considering the boarding program. I know for some parents that might seem scary or, unimaginable to do this at the high school level. Thought I'd have my kids at home through high school and I can't even bear the thought of them leaving before college. But if you think about traffic anywhere in Massachusetts right now, it's just really challenging. And to have some kids in a car, sometimes 3 hours a day, with a round trip commute, it really takes a toll on them and they're kind of just missing being part of that community. So something to consider. And I can go into what weekends look like and kind of the flexibility that they have. But the level system really allows students, as they work through different tiers, they gain privileges as they move up. And so once they handle those day-to-day expectations, for example, if they can do that for 2 weeks, they move from level 2 to level 3 within the level system. And then they have a certain set of certain skills that they need to handle, again, day to day for that level 3. If they can show those consistently for 3 weeks, then they move to level 4. And so, they might get privilege to order out, for example. They might eventually, not have to do that formal study hall and they can have flexible study hall hours. They might be able to get a refrigerator in their room, for example. And then once they move up the level system, they can eventually become an RA. And that shows really great leadership skills and really just giving back to the community. They're really that advocate for students between, the student body as well as the residential staff. Really implementing, weekend activities and fun things to do, as well as managing some study halls and things like that. So I think it's a really great opportunity for students to be living in an environment where they can learn these skills with adults who care about them and kind of hold them to an expectation, again, before they go off to college and university and have so much freedom and don't know what to do with it. So that's our residential life curriculum. I'm sorry, I'm just going to go through here. Moving on, we have, great academic program, but we really want to make sure that we're allowing our students to really experience a traditional school environment. Some kids feel like, if I'm going to a language-based school, working with students with learning differences, like sometimes I'm not normal, right? And we never want students to feel that way. They are so bright and capable and have so many things that they're good at, and we want to really make sure that, again, we tap into that potential for them. And so we do have a fantastic elective and after school program, and there's a number of different options. And the elective, as I showed on the class schedule, whatever is offered during the academic day, it's also offered after school. So that way, if students have more than one thing that they are interested in, they don't have to sacrifice that. So we have really a fantastic visual arts program, everything from 2D to 3D media art, drawing and painting. We have ceramics, graphic design, digital illustration, photography. It's just a really robust visual arts class. We have an inspiration gallery as well, where students are Golden Key winners, which is amazing. That's a photo right there of some of that work. And really, for those students interested in pursuing art at the college level, we can help them prepare their portfolio for that as well. In addition to the visual arts, we also have a fantastic performing arts program as well. Everything including dance, chorus, drama, band. We have theater tech. We put on 3 play productions throughout the year. We have dance performances as well. So there's a great opportunity for students to continue to pursue those passions that they might be doing outside of school here at Landmark and being part of that community. Now, if you are an athlete and really are into those playing different sports, our boys teams are part of the EIL, the Eastern Independent League, and the girls are part of the All Girls Conference, the AGC. In the fall, we have girls volleyball. We offer soccer for both, for male and female. We have cross country, offer golf. In the wintertime, we have basketball, wrestling, indoor track. On Saturdays during the winter, we also offer a ski and snowboard club, which is really cool. I think they took about 60 students skiing last weekend. And in the spring, we have lacrosse, baseball, tennis, outdoor track and sailing as well. So lots of variety that we're not really cutting any corners here, and there's just lots of opportunities for students. I thought this was really cool when I applied to Landmark and had my tour. They have a working auto mechanic shop where they do welding. There's the STEAM program, the technical and programming classes, film production, animation, woodworking, and boat building. So really a robust program throughout. We also have a number of community service opportunities for students. This is our ski and snowboarding club. We do different things on the weekends as well because we are so, sorry, I just skipped ahead. We are so close to Boston. So our weekend activities are really robust. So not only do we offer a number of different activities on campus, our weekend activities include just going into the city, different major league sports offerings with baseball and the Red Sox, Celtics games. We take them to the theater. We do hiking. We've gone to Canopy Lake. When it's nice weather, we take the students to the beach, Six Flags, movie mall, bowling, trampoline park, very typical teenage activities. And as I mentioned before, weekend activities are also available for day students as well. So students can really participate in anything with Landmark 7 days a week if they choose to. So those we send out a newsletter weekly, and all that information is there so that way parents can see what offerings we have as well. All right. So in addition to our academic program, we also offer a summer program at Landmark. We have one separate for our elementary middle school, but we have one on campus at the high school campus, and it's both a day and boarding program for students entering grades 8 through 12. So while our boarding program for the academic year is only grades 9 through 12, for the summer program, we do let students going into the 8th grade participate in the boarding program. We usually have around 50 to 55 students attend our summer at Landmark. Most of the kids do live here, and it's 4 weeks, including 3 weekends. And students have 4 classes each morning, and each class is 1 hour. And so while we're trying to, obviously have that academic component, we also want to make sure it's really an enrichment program for students. So not only the academics, but I'll also talk about the extended day as well. So those four classes include that one-on-one tutorial that we talked about earlier. We have a math class for students, language arts for writing, and then either an extra reading or study skills class. Once students have those 4 classes, it finishes around lunchtime, so they'll have a break to go grab lunch. And then we have a study hall in the afternoon. Again, it's reinforcing those skills. It's not, doing a number of worksheets. It's just really having them be hands-on with what they just learned. We do offer an extended day for students. And so after school, we have 5 electives for students to choose from. And those include sea kayaking and paddle boarding, marine exploration with snorkeling. We have the visual arts program as well, in addition to fitness. So there's lots of things for students to do here on campus. And then for those students who are living on campus in the residential program, we have community nights and weekend trips. So they might do, like, after dinner, they might have a theme and do field games, beach volleyball, something like that. And then on the weekends, we can do a number of different trips. Again, those that I mentioned that we offer for the weekends during the academic year, we can also offer for weekend activities. And so the summer program is a great opportunity for new students, especially coming to Landmark, to really get acclimated to our campus, really get a good feeling of what it feels like to be in a Landmark classroom, get to know the faculty, and really just starting to learn specific tools to find success. For students, it's just really nice to go from 50 students and just kind of get to know things before the academic year starts in September, and you got 300 students here. So that's an option for students. We also accept students just for the summer program only, if they're not able to attend Landmark for the academic year. So that's an option as well, just to really make sure they're going back to their public or private schools with specific skills and some tools to help them out through their academic year. All right. That video doesn't work. Right. So that's the end of the presentation. I know we moved a little bit quicker through that when we don't show all the videos and such, but and I think is Ariel on? Did I see her come in? Okay. Are we
Yeah.
still waiting, Amanda, for?
Yeah, so it looks like we're just waiting for a few other admin to join, but Ariel is here, I believe. And there were a few questions in the chat, Lisa, if you wanted to look at
Yeah, let
those.
me just take a look at them to see
Yeah.
which ones I might be able to answer, and then some that we need. We do work with students who do have a diagnosis of the dyscalculia as well. Yeah. And then, sorry, I'm just going to go through these questions. I just want to see if it's more appropriate for Ariel or someone else. For the summer program, they do have to choose one elective and do that throughout the entire program. Just because of staffing needs and numbers, we do ask that students put in for their first choice and then second choice. So for those 4 weeks, they would have to do the same program. Do we have rock climbing? Do we offer rock climbing?
I can jump in. We don't have rock climbing as an activity for like a regular activity for the summer program. We do have a rock climbing club in the fall and maybe the spring at the high school. I think it depends on student interest.
Okay, great. Thank you. Ariel, do you want to take a minute to introduce yourself and just
Sure.
talk your role here on Landmark?
Sure. I'm Ariel Martin Cohen. I'm the academic dean at the high school, and I was also previously the director of the summer program, so I can speak about summer program as well. Do you want me to jump in and answer the swim team question?
Yeah, if you don't mind. Yeah.
We have had a swim team. We do not currently and have not for the past couple of years. It's become increasingly hard to get pool access. So we just haven't been able to offer a team because of lack of facilities. But if student interest increases and as colleges and universities around us improve their facilities and we may have access to pools in the future, it's definitely something our kids enjoyed, but we don't currently have that as a team.
Okay. Ariel, do you want to answer the question? Does your
Sure.
program that addresses learning differences necessarily lead to higher achievement scores?
Oh, I think it depends on what you mean by achievement scores. So like if you're talking about SATs, ACTs, or MCAS, we do definitely see improvement and growth in MCAS, which is the Massachusetts state standard test that students who are funded have to take in 10th grade. For SATs and ACTs, I don't know that the remediation we are doing directly shows up in those test scores, but obviously the better a kid is at decoding or reading and the better their comprehension skills are, the better those standardized scores are going to increase. So we hope that your students' scores improve in isolated ways, like the yearly reading testing that we do, and in global ways, like their ability to engage with complex curriculum, demonstrate mastery of skills, and have that progress be measurable. If that's not quite the right answer, if you want to send a second question, I can be more specific.
And then, for the summer program, can they focus more on reading and less on math? Reading is what he really struggles with.
Yeah. So math and language arts are typically required courses, but we place your child based on the content that they're going to go into the next academic year and their relative level of skill. So we usually have a class called that's like a projects-based kind of math 4 class that's for kids that are higher level math. That's not their area of deficit, but it's really good again to have repetition and exposure to high level math that's coming up for them, if for nothing else than the vocabulary that they're going to encounter, and get some practice with that. Reading and study skills, one of those classes will be in your child's schedule, and then they'll have a tutorial as well. So they have 3 of their 4 classes are really language based. The 4th, which is math, is also language based. It's just the language of math instead of a novel or a list of vocabulary.
And then the question about, do you offer foreign language classes?
So the short answer is no. We offer an American Sign Language class that some students take both for their own personal development and awareness, and sometimes if they want to be able to demonstrate experience with a second language, but we don't currently offer traditional French, Spanish, or Mandarin. Those are not classes in our curriculum.
Right. And then how do you turn around a capable kid who has lost hope in school because his learning difference is not supported in his current school? I think we see a lot of those.
We do see a lot of those, and I can tell you that the turnaround time, to use that phrase, really varies. For some kids, it's hours. It's their first day of school, first day of classes, and they come home and kind of have this like, oh, okay, I kind of get it. I think I can do this. For other kids, it takes longer, and that's depending on their current or previous experiences, how they feel about school, how they feel about adults at school, where their skill sets are. But I think the way we approach it is using our teaching principles, setting up students for success, including them in the learning process, making our rationale known, making the purpose known so they understand why they're doing something. And then really looking to affirm their strengths at the same time as we try and support their relative areas of weakness. So we really want your kid to feel known as a whole person, including who they are in the classroom. And like Lisa was going through, electives and performing arts and athletics, we want that to be a big part of how we see them too.
Thank you. And then the question on how many rising eighth graders do you typically have in the summer program and as boarders?
It varies each year. Out of a program of 45, I'm going to ballpark it, 10 to 12 rising eighth graders. And then the rest, the sort of like trends down as the kids get older, but we typically have a pretty solid population of 9th and 10th graders, and then a smaller cohort of juniors and seniors.
Great, thank you. And then how many students join during sophomore and junior year? What is this experience like for students joining later in high school?
Well, again, I'll ballpark it. In admissions, you're going to have actual data.
Yeah.
But my sense is our largest incoming class is freshmen, followed closely by sophomore, and then a pretty good number of juniors coming in. We just accepted in January, right now, last month, 3 new sophomores and 1 new freshman. So we are definitely taking kids at different points of their high school careers. The way we schedule for students who come into us freshman, sophomore, junior year reflects that. So we're going to think about different skill instruction and kind of balance of their schedule. But I think for kids coming to us, there's enough of a sense of there's about 100 new kids every year. And for a student body that's only 300, there's a pretty significant number of kids that are new to us each year. So I don't think it's as isolating to feel like you're the only new sophomore coming in or you're the only new junior coming in. And we try and schedule so that students are with other students that are coming in at a similar point. So I think they're going to feel like, oh, I'm in a class of 5 or 6 kids. 4 of them are also new to Landmark and are also coming in as new sophomores.
And then we also have students transitioning from our middle school program,
Yes. Yep.
eighth grade to our 9th grade program. So typically I would say the majority of those kids are transitioning to the 9th grade. And some really love that they have the boarding as an option to not have to do that drive anymore. And then just in general, why do kids leave? I can answer part of that, Ariel.
Please do.
Yeah. So just to start, I think for some kids, I mentioned before, some of our students do get funding from their public schools to attend Landmark. And when they sign the agreement with their towns, it really is specifically for X amount of years. Some families are fortunate enough to continue that funding. For some students, unfortunately, that funding ends, and by virtue of that, they do return to their public schools. Ariel, do you want to?
Yeah, I think the other reasons to leave are more positive. So kids will sometimes feel like they've hit their remedial goals and with their family decide that they want junior or senior year to be back at home in their home public school district. Or we do have students that are really competitive athletes, and for sports teams that we don't offer, like ice hockey, for example. If kids feel good about where their academic progress is, we have had students seek independent schools with strong hockey programs and move there. That's a small cohort, but just to give you an example. And we've got some kids who want to return home for senior year to graduate with the friends that they've had since childhood, and we have a huge number of kids for whom Landmark is now their home, and they might attend their sort of home school district's graduation, but Landmark's graduation is the one that really counts for them. So kids leave for a really wide variety of reasons. It's a pretty small number each year, and we work really closely with families and kids who are thinking about leaving to really support, like, okay, if you're going to go to a different program, here's the supports that we think would be really essential, making sure they're prepared. They've got copies of all the documents and templates that we want them to have. So we're not in the business of holding kids longer than they want to stay with us, but we're certainly hoping that you all continue to want to stay with Landmark, because we offer a really full high school program, and can cover a lot of distance from a really language-based remedial program to a pretty competitive independent school type schedule, depending on what your child needs and they're interested in.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Question is, how is your program different from Orton Gillingham?
So I'm going to give you my brief answer and then we can go into more specifics. So we do about 50 of the tutorials on campus. It's 50 out of 230 are based in Lindenwood Bell. So we have a department of teachers who are trained in Lindenwood Bell as a program. They're also using visualizing, verbalizing, and seeing stars, and a few other structured remedial programs. When students have sort of achieved or demonstrated enough growth in their decoding and phonemic awareness, then we place them in what we call a founder's tutorial, which covers a really wide breadth of skills. And this is where we start to get away from program-driven curriculum, because we want to be able to cover decoding, fluency, spelling, comprehension, written expression, and study skills. And there aren't a lot of programs that cover all of those things. So we use a lot of resources to address each of those skills in coordination. And we find that generally works pretty well for kids and allows teachers to feel a good sense of kind of creativity and engagement with their lesson planning.
Thank you. I just want to take a quick moment. I clearly don't talk as much as Mel. So I finished up a little bit early. Melody usually
I was
does
here early.
it's for me, so I'm like, oh, great, we're already done. I just want to take a moment to have others introduce themselves that were kind enough to join us this evening. In no particular order. Bill, do you want to introduce yourself and just talk a little bit about your role on campus, how long you've been here?
Absolutely. Hi, everyone. Welcome, and thanks for taking the time to be with us. Sorry if I jumped in a little late here.
Nope. Early.
But I'm the head of the high school campus. This is my 10th year in the position, but it's actually my 30th year at Landmark School. So I've been here a while. Ariel mentioned the Lindenwood tutorials. My wife Christine has also been at Landmark for 30 years. She's the department head in that department, so oversees the teachers and the students in that program. So I'm excited to have you guys here and happy to answer any questions related to our program. Ariel's doing a great job here. I'm going to let her keep pushing forward, but I also know Rob Gianatelli, our Dean of Students, is here, so I'll let him introduce himself.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome aboard. As Bill said, my name is Rob Gianatelli. I'm the Dean of Students for the high school program. I am in my 27th year as the Dean of Students here at the high school program. I live on the grounds. I live above the art building with my wife. Well, and my children lived here, but now they're grown and gone. Welcome aboard. Happy to be here with all of you.
Right, thank you. And then we have a parent, Jen Johnson.
Sorry, I had to get technology advanced here. Hi, I'm a parent of a student there that has been at the EMS starting at grade 7 and is now a junior. And we're in just south of the of Beverly, just north of Boston, and commute back and forth.
Great, thank you. Good. All right. And Amanda, students are coming on in just a little bit.
The students should be here in the next 10-ish minutes or so.
Okay, no problem. We can continue to answer questions then. Yeah, great. The question, do you have students repeat a year when they enter your program, specifically junior year?
So this is, again, a question that the enrollment process involves a ton of different people, but we absolutely have kids coming in to repeat junior year. We have kids coming in to repeat freshman year. We have kids coming in to repeat sophomore year. So it's definitely something that is a conversation between you Landmark, your child. I
Mhm.
think that for me, because I'm not in that decision-making process, the thing that's most essential is that your child's on board with spending additional year in high school and really sees the value and the benefit of spending that extra year with us, because that is a big ask and kind of a deferred gratification. The vast majority of kids that have come to us repeating a year, I think pretty quickly see the value of that decision. And we're not often working with kids who are regretting it because there's so much work done ahead of time to make sure they're on board and that you guys are on board coming into that enrollment decision. So we definitely do have kids repeating years throughout.
And one of the things I'd add to that, my younger brother, is actually going through this process with his son right now, looking at an independent school and being reclassified. He's a basketball player, but his son is resistant. But at the same time, what I told my brother is when it happens at our school, it's kind of invisible to the other students, in a sense. When a student comes brand new and maybe they're entering their sophomore year, but they've been reclassified as a freshman, it's really invisible to the other students. And I think that's just something to consider. And like Ariel mentioned, there's so many benefits in terms of academics and also things like athletics. And depending on where students are socially, things like that, in terms of them navigating, it's, there's a lot that should go into that decision beyond just the initial reaction of the teenager, I think, in a sense. And I'm seeing that, my brother is going through that right now. It's a layered conversation. I'm helping him in that process. But, I think what I'm really leaning on is what I've seen on our own campus over the years in terms of kids that come in and repeat a year.
Yeah.
Jen, you can chime in.
I was just going to say, as a parent, my child didn't retain a year here at Landmark, but we did it previously. But I will tell you, it's kind of, I think a lot of students do that. And I'm speaking from a parent's perspective. Kendall's, lots of her friends have all repeated years, either previously to Landmark or even at Landmark. So it's not the stigma that it has in the public school system by any sense of the word. And I think everybody does it for the right reasons. And, that's a collective decision, like they said.
Great. Thank you, Jen. Next question. How hard is it transitioning from a language-based school to college?
I'll give an academic answer. And then Rob, I think the residential answer, student life answer is really relevant too. How hard is it? Completely depends on your kid and the school that they're looking at or the post-high school plan that they have. But generally what we've identified and what we've heard from our alums is they're eager to be prepared. They're eager to be exposed to the things that they need to know how to do in college or in life. And we've really worked to reframe curriculum and programming opportunities so that they feel prepared. But everyone's definition of prepared is pretty widely different. So what we have in place is a senior seminar program. Some kids are in a leadership and character class, which Rob teaches. Some kids are in a senior research class, which is exactly like it sounds, very in-depth and long-term research. Some students are in a student advocates class, which Amanda teaches. But every senior is in a program, a class that's specific for senior year that includes, in different degrees of detail, understanding special ed law and what are your rights and what are the accommodations that you have access to when you move from high school, which is our expectation is that we're going to provide progress in curriculum, to college where the expectation is just access and it's up to the kid to take advantage of the supports. We have an incredible Department of Guidance in transition that works really closely with you and your children starting in junior year to make sure that you're seeking opportunities that are appropriate academically and socially. And then a lot of the content classes like math, science, and history start to run off of syllabuses. We use Canvas, which is a, what's it called? Learning management system that many colleges use. It's really great to practice with because it's kind of a beast and it's not very easy to figure out. And it's really important that kids know what to do here so that it doesn't become a problem in college. And then I think there's just a ton of conversation in tutorial and with your advisor, with your counselor, to really make sure that you've got the personal student skills that you need to be ready. And then Rob, I think your department does a phenomenal job of getting kids ready in a lot of other ways.
So thanks, Ariel. I'll jump in. So when I first came on board at Landmark School some 27 years ago, my first few years here, I started doing some research or collecting some data from students at Landmark that were leaving going to college. And I wasn't focusing on the ones that were 100% successful because they told us the anecdotes of why they were. I started asking curious questions about those that struggled. And what I really figured out and what I learned from that was that it wasn't about their academic skills. They could meet the academic challenges that college presented, but where they were struggling was in time management, organization, and effective advocacy. That for those of us that have older children, you know, when your kid goes to college, all the college wants from you is a big fat check, and they don't want to talk with us. But yet we as parents who have children who have learning challenges know that we have to buffer the system and advocate for them all the way through. In the process of doing that, to give them what they need, we also undercut their ability to naturally develop those skills. It's that awful sword where you have to advocate for them, but yet they're not learning it on their own. So inside the residential curriculum, the level system was, when I designed it, when it was created, it looked at time management, organization, and advocacy as a primary piece to it. So as students move up the level system, they're developing those strategies and skills, they're scaffolding those skills, and one builds upon the others. So as they push forward, when we track students that leave us and go off into college, respectfully, whether they're commuting or day students or residents, all those things are threaded through, but the level system really pushes those aspects. You know, it creates the opportunity for them to live outside the nest, to really have to deal with things like, you know, how do I do my own laundry? How do I navigate roommates? How do I navigate living in a community? How do I organize all of my stuff and get out of the dorm on time in the morning? How do I figure out where I can study, how I can study independent of a parent standing over their shoulders and creating the push to have them do that? So that inside the residential base, that's kind of the push. There are a couple of questions that are threading through, so I'm just going to roll through them. Residential students are allowed to go home on weekends. The only weekends that have any level of restriction center around the weekends that we have Saturday school, and then those students, some of them leave after Saturday school, Saturday at noon, others stay for the weekend. I've always laughed about the fact that on any given weekend, we have pretty close to a dozen day students who want to sleep over and be with us because we do more things based on the weekends than you probably do at home. We have activities scheduled Friday, Saturday, Sunday, all day ski trips on Saturday in and out of Boston. You kind of name it, we have done it. So that push is there to kind of create opportunities for them to socialize, engage. And so oftentimes we have students bunking in, sleeping over. You know, we had an away basketball game last night that was pretty far for us. On the way back, 4 or 5 kids called and said, "Hey, can I just sleep over? My parents don't want to drive and come get me." Yep, we'll figure out where they go. And we have the opportunity to kind of invite them in.
Rob, I forgot to mention Saturday school during my presentation, so I'm sure a lot of parents like, what is Saturday school? Yeah, so do you mind just giving a brief overview of what that is and why we have that?
Well, I'm going to bounce that back to Ariel.
Okay.
I can answer the question. Yes, the residential curriculum is threaded through the summer program as well.
Yes. Yes. So we have 8 Saturday schools throughout the course of the year. So it's not every Saturday. And it's designed to be experiential learning or workshop based. So it is not chemistry, algebra 1, history classes. It's field trips to museums, community service opportunities, workshops run by teachers. Kids sign up for 2 2-hour sessions or 1 4-hour session. It runs 8 to 12. Kids can dress comfortably. I think they find it really engaging. And one of the main reasons we did it is it gave us time to do the really important curriculum and transition workshops we want to make sure we're doing consistently, like sex ed, like talking about learning styles, like talking about senior transition skills, interview skills, all of the things that really need to happen, but you don't want to pull them out of the classroom learning for it to happen. So it's been a good bridge, and we count them as 8 full school days. So it lets us end the school year 8 days earlier.
And then do you have an idea of how many kids you have with dyscalculia? That was
I don't know. That's a great question. And I don't have data on it. It's not 100%. I don't know. I don't want to say a number and be wildly wrong, but I think there is a sizable population of kids that come to us with that diagnosis. And there is another population of kids that are not necessarily diagnosed with dyscalculia, but for whom math is intensely challenging. And then we have a population for whom math is their comfort zone and they just get it. And it makes so much sense. And we have a real wide breadth of math programming to suit a lot of different profiles and math interest levels. And I can answer ACT, SAT.
Yep, that was the next one. Yep, thank you.
So we
Yep.
don't offer formal courses like every afternoon talking about the tests. We do ask tutors during junior year and senior fall to do some sort of orientation to the test more than it is prep. We talked this year, the SAT is going fully digital starting this year. So tutors are going to work with students to make sure they understand how to navigate the computer-based test, have some exposure to the structure of the questions, and think about how to apply their landmark strategies to taking that test. But we don't invest more time in it than that. That was a long-standing practice, and with the number of schools that have gone and stayed test optional post-pandemic, I think we feel pretty good about continuing the practice of making sure kids know how to approach the test, but not necessarily taking formalized prep classes. We can absolutely help your kid find additional support or practice if that's something you want, but it's not something that we do during the day.
Great,
Lisa,
thank
there
you.
was a question that spiraled back about the difference, what differentiates landmark schools' learning
Yeah,
environment.
yep,
from
yep,
peer-to-peer
that was the
schools.
next one.
So I
Yep.
just want to speak to that for a second. If your child continues to need remedial services in any capacity, a school that provides support does not provide remedial service. So for those students, and my challenge part, this is kind of sometimes where I get on a soapbox and I'll try not to. Those are some of the students we get coming in having to repeat their junior year because they've been at a more traditional school that offers support, but not remediation. And they just kind of struggled their way through and then hit that wall. So if your child still needs a level of remediation that Landmark School says, that's what we do, that's what we specialize in, then in my opinion, we're a better environment. If your child needs executive function, coaching and support, or study skills support, and those are the programs that more traditional schools who offer a learning center or learning support have the ability to meet those needs. But a true classic landmark kid that still needs a lot or needs some remediation, my experience and my frustration is those programs that are enrolling those students without the wraparound services that they truly continue to need. And then from a residential standpoint, they might have good supports academically, but a lot of those students also then feel like they're banging their head against the wall inside the residential base, which doesn't have an understanding of executive function, time management, and the strategies that need to be taught in that area as well. So it sounds like I'm kind of negative about traditional schools, and I'm not, because we have students leave us on a regular basis to move into them, but that's when they're really ready, that their skills are solid, their strategies around executive function and time management have been developed, and they're really ready to challenge themselves, to put those skills that they've learned into motion. And we have students pop back and forth on a pretty regular basis. Hope that answers your question without kind of trashing our other peers. And
Yeah.
other schools. Wasn't meant to do that.
Yeah. No, I just interviewed a student today who's struggling at more traditional school with learning support. And she said, when I went to visit that, I thought, it was just great to have that as an option. But it's really just like doing homework. It's not really teaching me what I need. And when we did some screening today, she's at, still at that 5th grade level for, reading accuracy, reading rate, reading fluency. And she's like, they just don't understand who I am as a learner. And I just realized I need more of that. So, I think that's a great point, Rob, as you're exploring different options, really knowing what your child needs and then really investigating those types of support programs at those schools to really get an in-depth understanding of what they provide and what they might not provide. Jen, I want to pose this question to you. What is the parent community like, and are there ways for parents to get to know one another and really get involved within the community?
Sure. It's everything that you make it out to be. Yes, you're at a school that majority of families are not, right there and located. But there's an organization within the Parent Association for Landmark that I'm a part of and a lot of people are part of. I will tell you, I have one of my best friends who her daughter actually entered Landmark the same year. And I have lots of friends there. I will say you have to make the most of it, of what you want, and be participating if that's what you want. There are other parents that I'm probably casual with, but there's always the parent handbook that, I will say that I've never had a situation where if you had a question and you wanted to reach out to a parent's always been helpful. I did have also the opportunity, there's for transportation, some families in my area, I actually volunteered to be the leader of a couple vans that went from our area. So I got to know a lot more parents that way. So it really is whether or not you want to get involved yourself. There's opportunities out there. There's, gatherings that Landmark participates and creates. There's fundraisers. It's what you want to make of it.
Great. Thanks, Jen.
Yeah.
And I just want to thank the students for joining us tonight. So I'm going to hand things over to Amanda Ryan to coordinate the student panel for us, and I'll have you take over from here.
Thanks, Lisa. So I think just continue to pop your questions in and the students can answer as best they can. And of course, admin and parents, you guys can jump in and support them as well. But first, I want to have our students introduce ourselves. So guys, if you could just say your names, where you're from, if you're a day student, a resident, what grade you're in, and then some activities you're involved in. That's a lot of things, so try your best to remember. Christy, if you want to start us off.
Sure. So, hi, I'm Christy McGaffigan. I'm a senior this year at Landmark. I'm from Winchester, Mass, and I'm a day student. Some activities I do, I am a big theater kid, so I've been in a bunch of shows at Landmark. I was on the varsity cross country team, and I worked up at Totspot for a couple of years. That's it.
You want to say what the Totspot is, just so people know?
Oh, yeah. Sorry. Not many people know that. So Totspot is the daycare that Landmark has. Parents who work at Landmark have students there, and there's an early childhood education class, which I was in for 2 years, I'm pretty sure 2 years. And as part of that class, we go up once or twice a week, and we get to be around and play with the students. I worked and did like lesson planning, and I got to be like an intern there. It was really special.
Thanks, Christy. Olivia, if you want to go next.
I'm Olivia. I'm a junior. I'm from Long Island, New York, and I board here. Oh, and I do volleyball.
Thanks, Olivia. Jackson? Oh no, Jackson, we can't hear you. All right, we'll switch over. Brian, do you want to go?
Sure. My name is Brian Hackett. I'm from Reading, Mass. I'm a freshman at Landmark. I'm a day student, and I did tech with Christy, and I'm doing tech for fall. I'm doing it for winter, and then I'm going to do lacrosse in the spring.
All right, thanks, guys. If you guys have questions for the kids, you can feel free to ask them. You can unmute and ask them or put them in the chat. They're happy to help. You can ask them anything. We did not prep them for anything. They're going to share with you their honest opinions and feedback about us.
Amanda, I can start answering that first question and then I kind of ask them what made Landmark feel different for them.
Yeah, that'd be great.
So the question about what differentiates our learning environment from pure boarding schools, I think it's how we program and then like the people that we have. So I think the daily tutorial is a really significant part of our program, and the people, the teachers that your students are working with in that tutorial are also a really significant part of the program. I think we cover a lot of breadth from, again, like I said, a really remedial schedule where they're in a Linda Moobell-based tutorial, they've got an extra reading class or maybe an oral expression class. They're in very, very small classes that are really breaking down the language demands of math or science or history. And they also have access to a really full complement of electives, athletic teams, community service, and a really active community. And the ability to live here and experience the residential curriculum that Rob and his team have put together, I think makes it a pretty unique place compared to competitors. But we're also working really hard to learn from the schools that we work with, to share best practices and develop a community and understand what they're doing. So I think we're really great. And I think there's other really good programs too. But students, I'd love to know for you, if you were at other high schools or even just where you were before the Landmark High School, what felt different to you guys? Christy, do you want to start since you introduced first?
Sure. Now there's a pecking order. Now I'm first. I'm ready. I'm ready for it. Okay, so I was at the Carroll School before Landmark. I was there from 4th to 8th grade, and if you don't know what the Carroll School is, it's kind of like Landmark, but it's called the Carroll School, and it's in Waltham. Being somebody who's been in like a LBLD environment since 4th grade, I didn't know if Landmark would feel different, and I didn't know if it would just be like, oh, it's the same thing, I'm just older. But Landmark is very thorough in what they teach. I've had experiences in past schools where you'd learn something one way and you'd be like, okay, I got it. And then you go to the next year and it would be like, oh, well, that's not how we teach it in this year. And you'd have to relearn it. I have never had a time in Landmark where I was learning something in one year and then I had to learn it differently the next. So once you understand the basic skills and stuff, everything is kind of smooth and you can build off that in the years to come. The other thing that's really special to me is my tutorial. I know a lot of people who haven't come from schools like Landmark or Carroll don't have experience with tutorial. My tutor's my best friend, personally, just saying. They're so much more than just like oh, yeah, you need extra help on reading or whatever. They really can help you with whatever you need. And I've had every one of my tutors I've had, if they don't know how to do something, they're like, oh, let me get back. And they teach it to themselves and then they teach me, which is a really special bond just to have at school and know somebody's in your corner. That's it.
I came from the Reading school system, so it was definitely, I noticed that it was much better. So I came here in 8th grade, and I found that the tutorial was really helpful, like one-on-one. But because at like the public school, they didn't really know how to like teach you. So they would mostly just be like, oh, okay, so here's a 10 question thing. We're going to knock off 5 questions because you don't know how to do them. But here they teach you in a way that you like understand it and you're able to complete that whole 10-page thing on your own. And like Christy said, tutorial is not only just like I need help, but it's a time to like talk to your tutor and like help you with other stuff. Yeah, it's really, really awesome.
All right, question for the students. Did any of you guys transfer in to Landmark throughout your high school career? Or did you all start at freshman year?
I started my freshman year.
I also started my freshman year.
Do you guys
I
have
also
peers?
started.
Do you guys have peers or friends that you know that have transferred in halfway through high school or as sophomores or juniors? And do you have any knowledge of what their experience is like?
From the little bits I've heard, it's very smooth. I don't think from what I've like seen and the people I've met, if you join midway through, you're not like oh, there's new kids halfway through. It's not like weird like that. There were some kids who just joined recently and everyone was like, oh, there's new kids here, like let's go say hi, and like everyone was really nice, and it wasn't a thing of like, oh, I wonder what they're like, why did they transfer here halfway through, or who are they. So I think it's pretty similar. I mean, it's different grade, but it's similar to like joining at the beginning of freshman year or the beginning of the year.
Oh yeah, there's a new girl that started just like last week, and she was able to jump right in, and you could tell that she really enjoyed it, and she was able to jump right in and learn a lot more, which was great.
All right, a really important question. Everyone wants to know, how is the food? What's it like in the cafeteria? Olivia, I feel like you're here a lot as a resident.
I think that it's getting a lot better every year, and I really do like that like you can suggest things on a board and that they'll make it. And I think you can like always find something you'll like.
Olivia, what's your favorite food?
I like the sweet potato.
Me too.
To kind of piggyback off that, I think the food is what it's great and it's really fresh. And we're lucky that we have sustainable produce and stuff. There's a lot of information that they keep out publicly that Sage puts out about where they get the food and how it's sourced, which we're really lucky to have. I also think there's something for everybody. If the hot lunch isn't like what you're looking for, there's always a salad bar. You kind of make it what you need, what you want for that day. So yeah, I like it. And my favorite are the Parmesan French fries.
Yeah, I would say that one thing that Landmark has is they really are passionate about their food. So we have a milk break at like it's like a snack time, just so you can kind of like keep your brain going. And they'll have like a fresh snack or like popcorn or like a granola bar. So yeah, like Chrissy said, there's pretty much anything you can get, and it's fresh. It's really good. My favorite food though. My favorite food, I don't know. Um, probably ribs. The ribs are pretty good, or tacos. Tacos are good.
Yeah, actually, that made me think of when Brian said milk break. I don't think a lot of high schools do like snack time. I told my friends about it, and they were like, "You get food like before lunch?" And I was like, "Yeah, my school's really awesome." But milk break, I feel like, is really important. It, as Brian said, just kind of keeps you going. And if you have like harder classes in the morning, you're like, "Oh, it's hard to wake up." You can just be like, "Oh, well, I know in like an hour I get to go like have a pretzel or something." So it's really important.
So the milk break time that the kids are referring to is just like a morning snack, as they've said as well, but it's also a time for teachers, department heads, residential teams to get together and just talk and update and share the things that are going on. So teachers, we use it as a time to get connected with one another, and students have a time to also connect and take a little break from their day. Okay, our next question is about the dorms. What's it like in the dorms, living with your friends, living with your teachers? What's it like being in there?
I really like it. I think like you meet people in the dorms that you wouldn't normally have classes with. And I don't know, it's like a family to me now once you get to know people. And I don't know, I love living here.
Was
Olivia,
it hard for you, Olivia, like moving away from home and transitioning to the boarding program?
At first it was, but that's kind of like what everyone's going through. And like you meet your people in the dorm pretty fast.
Jackson, are you back?
Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
All right, good.
Jackson, do you want to share with us a little bit about your dorms and maybe the afternoon schedule?
Yeah. So, uh, after school, you go to your activities, then have dinner, uh, and then, since I'm a proctor, I kind of like a lot of free time with kind of like study hall, uh, and everything like that. You just kind of do your homework, and I really like it. It's, when you're like a beginning level, it's very structured, and that's really what I like about it. And it kind of teaches you for college.
Uh,
Rob, do you want to answer the question about the study hall time and how that's structured?
Yeah, study hall starts Sunday night through Thursday night, goes from 8 to 9:30. Students are in a myriad of different places. They can be in their room. There can be a structured study environment. There can be classroom is open, the library is open, so they can advocate to be in different spaces. The goal, though, is that they're working productively, independently, creating routines and habits that assist them when they leave us and move on. Study hall is proctored and monitored by teaching faculty. So if you live in one dorm and you're struggling with math and there's no math teacher there, there's always a math teacher in the system or a history teacher. We just have students kind of pack up and move and jump to a different place to get support and help. For residential students, if they go into class and say, I didn't understand, a savvy teacher is going to say, well, who did you advocate? Who did you ask? Because they know everybody is in the system and there's really no reason not to get your homework done with an excuse of I didn't understand, because there's a plethora of teachers threaded throughout the entire system during study hall. So those that try that, I think, kind of learn pretty quickly they need to create a different or an alternative strategy if they haven't gotten their work done. And they're pretty creative. And so I like giving them some points for that creativity here and there.
I'm
On the
just curious, do any of the students, any of you guys, if you ever have trouble with a class or trouble with a homework assignment, or you don't understand something, what do you usually do? Like, what have you done in the past to get extra help?
I think a big thing that Landmark does in conjunction with that to help prepare you for advocacy in later years and stuff is our emails are like a huge thing at Landmark. You have to learn how to check your email pretty often. But I know that if I've ever had trouble with an assignment, I email. And they will usually respond as long as you're not like emailing at like 3 a.m, but don't do that anyways. But if you're emailing at like a normal time, they are really good and they're responsive. I know I struggled with what I was confused on sometimes in emails, and some teachers, I would just be like, hey, I'm confused. And they'd be like, okay, well, what does that mean? So they taught me how to like be specific and like what I'm struggling with, which is a skill I've used for the rest of my life.
Also, there's math help things. So, like in math, if you're not like, oh, I didn't understand this question, sometimes you can go to math help, and there's like some nice teachers there, and they'll help you out with your homework. So it's pretty good sometimes when you like don't understand something, they can kind of help you out.
One question that's on there that resonated with me is with how much effort it takes to learn how to learn. When do you have time to learn? Which is a really good, complex way of thinking about how hard it is to be a high school student. I think our approach to classroom instruction should be that a concept is broken down to the point where it's accessible to students during the class period. So we're not giving them assignments that are where they're actually encountering new material or trying new skills. Homework should be reinforcing a skill, a strategy, a process that was introduced and rehearsed during the class period. So the homework is just demonstration of, can you do this independently yet, or do you still need support? But we're really not introducing new information for them to spend additional time learning after school. And we really focus on skills and strategy and use content as a way to access that, rather than content is being presented and students have to figure out the skill or strategy to use. So our approach to instruction is really focused on learning collaboratively during the class period with the teacher, not doing it at home in the kitchen table without enough support.
All right. I don't think it's true. You can tell me if I'm wrong. Have any of you guys done summer school or their summer program?
I did summer school in the summer going into 8th grade. So the summer that I went to Landmark, or the summer before I came to Landmark. So it was my 6th and into 7th grade year. And I thought it was awesome because I used some of the strategies that they taught me there in the last year that I was in public school. And it really helped me out. And like I told some of my teachers about it, and so they were able to get some like worksheets that I could use at school. And I realized I was like, wow, this is a great place, and I really want to go here. And then that fall, I got in, so I was really excited. And it gives you like a just a look into like what the day would be and how they teach. So because you would get there and you would have a milk break, and then they would send you home with a lunch, which was pretty nice. So
Thanks, Brian. Can you guys think of a time that you had to advocate for yourself to a teacher, to a peer, to a house parent, to a coach, to your advisors, to somebody, a time that you saw yourself advocating that maybe you wouldn't have before, that was something you experienced new here?
I actually just did this today, actually. This is the quickest example I thought of. I was looking at Canvas. I was on looking at my grades on Canvas, and I was just checking them out. There'd been some new things graded, and one of my assignments, I had like half points off, and I'm kind of like a academic like thriver. I really like academics. So I was like, what happened? And Canvas is super well, like they do really well spelled out. Everything's like there, you figure it out right away. And I had missed a section on one of my like book responses. And I was so bummed because I was like, oh, this is such an easy thing to like make up, like whatever, like I could have done that. So I emailed my teacher and I just kind of apologized. And I was like, is there any way I can make this up? Like, I understand if not. And I think like an hour later, she responded and she's like, thank you so much for emailing. Of course you can make this up. No worries. Like we can get you like a really easy assignment. I have experiences like that every day. And if there isn't like a easy solution, the teachers are never like, it's never like a scary thing if you have to go and like strategize. It's always like very like, they see you as like equals. You're not like the lower down, like, oh, the student. You're very like, they talk to you like a normal person, which is really nice, you know. But it's nice to know that they're there for you and they want to help.
If I can jump into this, I think this is where we need to partner with our parental base. When your child calls you during the day because they're upset or frustrated with something, it is really important for you to say to your child, who have you talked to at school? I said that all the time. You know, I'm happy to hear from you as parents, but I'm like, I just passed your kid 3 minutes ago and asked them how they were. They said they were fine. Clearly, they're not. So it's really, I really hope that as if you enroll your child with us and you're with us, that your messaging to them is, who at school have you talked to? Honey, I'm sorry you're upset. I'm at home. You're at school. Go find an adult. Go find someone. I can help you. That's the best I can help you. Go find someone, and really encourage them to be utilizing our adults. You know, as Christy said, I think their responses will be different than they've experienced before. Again, that's a critical skill that social media and phones and technology has lessened children's development over time, and it's a critically important skill that they be, you know, encouraged to learn.
Rob, do you want to answer the dress code question?
No, but I will.
Okay.
I can help you if you want.
It's his favorite question to answer, of course.
Look at this, honestly, the dress code is the bane of my existence currently. Pre-COVID, we're in a pretty solid place. When we moved back from COVID, trying to just get through being in masks, we kind of reduced the dress code. We're struggling to bring it back to a place of standard, trying to just kind of focus on what we need to do to kind of recalibrate everything post-COVID, and has been really challenging and difficult. But based on expectation, it is, you know, no blue jeans, but other kind of jeans, landmark wear. So if you wear a landmark t-shirt, that's fine. If you wear a landmark sweatshirt, that's fine. No yoga pants, no joggers, no sweatpants at school, no pajamas. And that's pretty much the current slate of dress code. We're just trying to get us all back in the class, elevate academic expectations, and then bring the dress code back in when we're getting the academic priorities set. So that's kind of where we are. But yes, it is my least favorite thing to work on during the day, every day.
Students, do you want to share how you feel about the dress code?
Personally,
Um,
I'll go after.
You can go, Olivia.
I think it's pretty easy. Oh,
I'll go.
I personally like it because I think it like prepares you for like when you have to get like a real job and you have to like dress like that every day. And I think it's easier to work not in sweatpants. So I don't know. I like that it's enforced.
It's a great answer, Olivia.
I think it's honestly pretty hard not to follow. Because you just, I mean, khaki pants, and then if you just get like a landmark sweatshirt like this one, And it's a comfortable dress code. It's much more relaxed than some other schools. So I think it's pretty nice.
I agree. And sometimes we get dress down days. Tomorrow's a dress down day. So like there are like it kind of makes when we do have dress down days even more special because it's like, oh, everybody's like, wearing yoga pants. I don't know, like it's exciting, I guess.
I think we have time for one more question. Would love to hear the students' input about how did you feel about school prior to coming to Landmark? And how do you feel now? Brian, do you want to go first?
Sure. I didn't really like school. I thought it was just didn't really like it because it was just I didn't really get anything, and it just didn't understand anything, and it just wasn't that fun. And then the second I came to Landmark, I was like, I don't think I've ever said this, but I'm actually enjoying school, and it's fun to go there. It's fun to hang out with your friends. I like all the electives there, and I had a complete change in attitude with school.
Yeah, I think for me, a lot of parents I feel like will understand this. When I went to school, I went to public school before I went to Carroll. I would come home just in tears. I thought I was the dumbest person on earth. I was convinced that I would go nowhere. The way the teachers talked to me and the way I couldn't get anything like everybody else. I thought there was something wrong with me. I know it sounds like a very cliche like dyslexia story. When I came to Landmark, it was the first time in my entire life that I felt smart. I'd never felt that before, and I didn't know what it felt like to succeed in something other than, I don't know, like theater, I guess. I don't know. But it wasn't like, oh yeah, reading's cool. It was like, oh my gosh, like there's not something wrong with me. It was like, it was the teachers. I'm just even more special than I initially thought, but for a better reason. So, yeah.
Another thing that I thought was great is that at public school I was stuck in a room with at some points it was like 7 kids with all different other things. They might have had dyslexia, they could have had another thing, they just didn't know, and so they all learned in different ways. And I would be locked in that room for like 3 periods a day, and I wasn't able to like have the same experience as other kids socializing and in different like classes. I wasn't in the same classes as other kids. I wasn't able to take a language. And at Landmark, you're with everyone. Everyone has the same thing. And so it's great because you can talk to people and you're in the same classes with people. And socially, I made much more friends than I did in public school.
Right. Thank you, everyone. Just keeping mindful of time. One last question was, do we allow shadow days on campus? Unfortunately, we don't, because what we're able to do in the class without disruption and really having our students there to learn. We don't do shadow days. However, when you do take a tour of campus, you will get the tour led by student tour guides, and we schedule those during class times. So as you're touring campus, you will see classes in action, so you're not seeing empty classrooms. And then we do have visit days planned later on in the year as well. So there will be opportunity for you to learn more about us through that. I'm going to be putting my email in the chat, but if you have any additional questions, I'm happy to answer those. Anything about the application process as well. Happy to answer those too. So I just want to thank our students, our parent Jen and Rob and Ariel and Bill and Amanda. Thank you for coordinating all this with our students as well. And thank you, parents, for joining us. If you have any questions at all, we're happy to help you and look forward to welcoming you to campus soon. Have a great night, everyone.